Hello, my dear friend. Staying true to your values isn't always easy, especially when it feels like no one sees or cares. But God sees your faithfulness, and He's already working to turn things around for you. What looks like rejection now is part of His plan to lift you up and honor your loyalty. In this video, we'll talk about how God restores, defends, and rewards those who stay faithful. Don't go anywhere. This message is for you. Number 1, when you are faithful, God is about to surprise you. Staying faithful to your values is one of the hardest battles you'll ever face. It's not about the applause or the recognition. It's about staying true to who you are, even when the world pushes you to compromise. Faithfulness is the strength of a person who refuses to trade their integrity for comfort, their honesty for approval, or their trust in God for temporary gain. God sees this loyalty. He sees it when you choose kindness over anger, even when you're hurt. He sees it when you refuse to take shortcuts, even if no one else would notice. He sees it when you stand firm in your principles, even when it costs opportunities or respect in the eyes of others. To the world, it might look like weakness, but to God, it's the definition of strength. Faithfulness to your values isn't just about what you do. It's about who you are becoming. Every time you choose to stay loyal to what is right, you are aligning yourself with God's will. And that alignment doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, it's what sets you apart. While others may falter or waver, your steadfast commitment builds a legacy of resilience and honor. God doesn't just observe your loyalty, He rewards it. It may not always be immediate, but His timing is always perfect. When you remain faithful, you're planting seeds for a harvest you can't yet see. Those seeds grow into opportunities, vindications, and blessings that far outweigh the sacrifices you've made. The world may tell you to give up your values to get ahead. It may laugh at your integrity, mock your convictions, or reject your principles. But remember, God is the ultimate judge. He sees beyond the momentary pain of rejection and knows the reward that awaits those who refuse to bend. Your loyalty to Him and to the values He's placed in your heart is not just a stance, it's a declaration of trust in His plan for your life. So, when the road feels lonely and the sacrifices seem heavy, stand firm. Be faithful. Your values are your anchor, and your faithfulness is your testimony. God sees your loyalty, and He's preparing something incredible for you. But what happens in those moments when the weight of staying faithful feels unbearable? Let's explore how God walks with you, even in the darkest valleys. Number 2, you are not alone. God walks with you through the pain. Pain has a way of making you feel isolated, like no one understands the weight you're carrying. You are never alone. Even in your darkest moments, God is walking with you, carrying you when the burden is too heavy to bear. You may not see Him, but His presence surrounds you like a shield, protecting you from the things you didn't even know were coming your way. When life feels overwhelming and the road ahead seems impossible, it's easy to believe the lie that you've been abandoned. But God's silence is not His absence. He is there in the quiet moments, working on your behalf in ways you cannot see. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every prayer whispered in desperation, He has heard it all. God's companionship isn't always loud or obvious, but it's constant. Like a lighthouse guiding a ship through a storm, His presence provides light in the chaos. He's the steady hand that holds you when you feel like you're falling apart, the whisper of hope that keeps you moving forward when you feel like giving up. It's important to remember that pain has a purpose. God doesn't waste the struggles you face. Instead, He uses them to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for the next step in your journey. When you feel alone, He's actually drawing you closer to Him, teaching you to rely on His strength rather than your own. You're not walking this path by yourself. God has promised to never leave you or forsake you, and His promises never fail. Even when others turn away, he stays. Even when the world rejects you, he calls you his own. This isn't just a comforting thought, it's a reality. God is with you in the fire, in the flood, and in the quiet moments when you think no one else is listening. So lift your head and take another step forward. You may feel alone, but you are not. God is with you every step of the way, and his presence is your strength. But what about justice? When you've been wronged, how can you trust that God will make things right? Let's talk about the unshakable promise of divine justice. Number 3, divine justice never fails, the promise that sustains your faith. In a world that often feels unfair, where good deeds are overlooked and wrongdoing seems to thrive, the idea of justice can feel distant. God's justice is never delayed, forgotten, or incomplete. It's not like the justice of this world, which can be flawed and partial. Divine justice is perfect, and it is coming. When you've been wronged, overlooked, or betrayed, it's natural to cry out for fairness. You want those who hurt you to face the consequences and for your integrity to be recognized. God hears that cry. He sees every injustice you've endured, every insult you've absorbed, and every unfair situation you've faced. Not a single moment has escaped his notice. The promise of divine justice is what sustains your faith during these times. While the world may look at your struggles and see defeat, God sees preparation. Every tear you've shed is like a seed planted, and when the time is right, God will turn that seed into a harvest of vindication and victory. His justice doesn't just even the scales, it overturns them. But divine justice isn't just about punishing wrongdoers, it's about restoring the faithful. God doesn't leave his children in shame or dishonor. He lifts them up, sets their feet on solid ground, and makes sure their righteousness shines like the dawn. When he moves, he doesn't just settle the score, he rewrites the story. The wait for justice can feel endless, but God's timing is intentional. What may feel like a delay is often a part of his plan to show his power and glory in ways that are undeniable. He will act when it brings the most impact, not just for you, but for everyone watching your story unfold. So, hold on to the promise of divine justice. Let it sustain you when life feels unfair. Trust that God is working, even when it feels like nothing is happening. His justice is perfect, and when it arrives, it will leave no doubt about his power and his love for you. But what happens when the pain of injustice feels overwhelming? Let's explore how God takes the shame and transforms it into honor, creating a powerful story of redemption. Number 4, from shame to honor. Stories of redemption that inspire. Shame can feel like a heavy cloak draped over your shoulders, weighing you down with every step. It's isolating, crushing, and sometimes it seems like it will never lift. But here's the powerful truth. God doesn't let shame have the final word. He specializes in taking what the world uses to humiliate you and turning it into a badge of honor. You may have been mocked for your faith, criticized for your values, or dismissed because you chose integrity over convenience. Those moments of rejection sting deeply, but they are not wasted. God sees every insult and every attempt to diminish you, and he has a plan to transform those moments into stepping stones for something greater. When God moves, the very things meant to break you become the tools he uses to lift you higher. The rejection you faced prepares you for divine acceptance. The humiliation you endured positions you for elevation. God has a way of flipping the narrative, making your enemies witnesses to your victory. Redemption isn't just about vindication, it's about transformation. It's not simply restoring what you lost, it's about giving you more than you could have imagined. God doesn't just erase the shame, he replaces it with honor. He doesn't just remove the pain, he uses it to create a testimony that inspires others. Every wound and every disappointment can become a part of the story God is writing in your life. When he restores, it's not in small, quiet ways. It's bold and unmistakable. Your story of shame becomes a story of His glory, a testimony to His power and faithfulness. So don't let shame define you. It may feel like the end of the road, but with God, it's just the beginning of a new chapter. The deeper the valley, the higher the mountain He's preparing to place you on. Trust Him to rewrite your story in a way that only He can. But why does God allow us to go through these painful seasons in the first place? Let's dive into the purpose behind the struggles and how every moment plays a role in His divine plan. Number 5, nothing is wasted. The divine purpose behind your faithfulness. Every struggle you face, every tear you cry, and every sacrifice you make for the sake of faithfulness has meaning. It's hard to see in the moment, but with God, nothing is ever wasted. What feels like pain today is being transformed into purpose. What looks like a loss is paving the way for something far greater than you could imagine. When you stay true to your values and remain faithful, you're building something eternal. Each act of loyalty and integrity becomes a part of God's divine plan for your life. It may feel insignificant, but it's like laying one brick at a time to construct a fortress. Over time, that fortress becomes unshakable, a testament to resilience and faith. God doesn't just use the good parts of your life. He uses it all. The disappointments, the heartbreak, the seasons of waiting. They all play a role in shaping you into the person He has called you to be. It's like a tapestry being woven. Up close, you might see knots and tangles, but when you step back, you see a masterpiece. Faithfulness requires trust in this process. It's about believing that even when life feels chaotic, God is working behind the scenes. He's aligning opportunities, refining your character, and preparing blessings that you're not ready to receive yet. Your waiting is not a punishment. It's preparation. Sometimes the purpose isn't just for you. Your faithfulness might be the light someone else needs to see. Your story of perseverance could inspire someone to hold on when they're ready to give up. God uses your struggles to impact others in ways you may never fully know. That's the beauty of His plan. It's bigger than you. So, when you feel like giving up or questioning if your sacrifices matter, remember this: nothing is in vain. God doesn't forget your efforts or overlook your pain. He's collecting every moment and weaving it into a story that will glorify Him and bless you abundantly. Trust that He is using it all for your good and His purpose. And when the story reaches its climax, when the trials give way to triumph, God reveals His ultimate promise, the victory of the faithful. Let's explore how He honors those who persevere. Number 6, the victory of the faithful. God always honors those who persevere. Victory doesn't come without a fight, and triumph isn't handed to those who give up along the way, but for those who remain faithful, who hold on to their values no matter how heavy the burden becomes. God promises a victory that no one can take away. Your perseverance is not only seen, but deeply valued by the one who holds the ultimate power. When you choose to stay the course despite the setbacks, despite the rejections, and despite the overwhelming odds, you're aligning yourself with God's unstoppable power. The trials you endure are not meant to destroy you, but to refine you, to prepare you for the blessing that's waiting on the other side. With every step of faith, you're moving closer to the victory God has already planned for you. God's victories are not small or quiet. When He moves, it's undeniable. He doesn't just open a door, He flings it wide open, making sure everyone sees His hand in your life. He takes the very things that were meant to harm you and uses them to elevate you. Your enemies will witness the turnaround, not because it's about vengeance, but because it's about showing the world the power of a faithful God. Victory in God's hands is comprehensive. It's not just about winning a battle, it's about restoring everything you thought was lost. Relationships, opportunities, peace of mind, nothing is beyond His reach. What was broken, He repairs. What was stolen, He returns. And what was dead, He brings back to life. Victory isn't just for you. Your triumph becomes a testimony. It's a reminder to everyone around you that God is faithful to those who are faithful to Him. Your story inspires others to persevere, to trust, and to keep moving forward. You're not just living for yourself, you're paving the way for others to see what's possible when they place their faith in God. So, keep going. The weight of your perseverance will never outweigh the glory of your victory. God doesn't forget, He doesn't delay, and He doesn't fail. Your faithfulness will be rewarded in ways you can't imagine. Victory is coming, and when it does, it will be undeniable. Every step you've taken, every struggle you've faced, and every act of faithfulness has brought you closer to the incredible plan God has for your life. Remember, no pain is wasted, no sacrifice is overlooked, and no prayer goes unheard. Your story is still being written, and the final chapter is a masterpiece of triumph and restoration. If this message has touched your heart, I want to encourage you to take the next step. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss more content that speaks directly to your journey of faith. And if this video inspired you, leave a like. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. You are not alone in this walk. Together, we are a community of believers standing firm, trusting in God's promises, and celebrating the victories He has prepared for us. I'm so grateful you've joined me today, and I pray that this message stays with you as you move forward. Keep holding on. Stay faithful. God sees you, He's with you, and He's working in ways beyond what you can imagine. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and know that you are deeply loved.